Hey Jantans and Jantanites, Jason Desmond from the Jantan Collective with a new edition of What's Up With That, where we question, we learn, and we grow. Remember, subscribe, like, and comment. We want to hear from you. There might be something that we talked about before and you've got questions about it, or there's something that you wanted to talk about. Well, get in touch. We want to hear from you. Now, COVID-19, when it hit, we were all told to stay in, stay safe, because, well, it's for our good. But there were some people who couldn't. They were doctors, nurses, people in the military, police. They were frontliners who had to, well, do their jobs for our safety. Now, if you didn't know that, what's up with that? Now, someone who knows a lot about their struggles, their stories, and the stories of all people who struggle with COVID-19 is the director of Malaysia versus COVID-19, hashtag Kita Jaga Kita. We have with us Zabrina Fernandez. Thank you so much for being here. How are you?
I'm good lah, how are you?
What have you been up to, man? You do so many things.
Don't we all?
That's true.
Don't we all do so many things?
Yeah.
I think, yeah.
Hey, but I'm tired now, I've slowed down a lot. But I don't know how you do it. Every time I check out your Instagram or your Facebook page and everything, you just
Come
doing
on,
stuff.
you know it's all a lie.
No,
Social media is a lie.
Right. But you've got a great looking family.
Yeah.
Hubby is
Yeah.
great. And but what have you been up to recently besides the documentary being out and whatnot?
Recently, it's starting to pick up. But I think for all of us, it was so quiet.
Yeah.
For doing when the MCO hit, it was so quiet, and so it was a good time to kind of like relook at things. So things are picking up again with work. I think I'm pivoting a little bit more into long form and scripted content, but I'm also finding a bit of joy in kids content. Yeah.
Well, yeah, what was that thing you were doing?
Lat Talilat.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, Lat Talilat. I think that was kind of born during the MCO because I was around my kids so much, and we read to them every night.
Right.
And I think there was a trend at the moment, with Obama and then a lot of celebrities in Hollywood, they were reading books to kids. And I went, we need to have a bit more Malaysian faces reading English books.
Yeah.
And then we also said, okay, some Malay books and some Malaysian English books, So that was, so the kids were the inspiration for that. And to kind of save me from like my brain just dying, so doing something,
Dying because, oh man, I want to do so much, but I can't.
Yeah.
Like a lot of us, we were like, wow, I want to travel again. Like for me, I just came back from Singapore and I was like, do I go back? Oh, I can't go back and whatnot. Actually, you know what? Do you remember what you were doing right before everything kind of shut down? What were you working on? Because the last time I saw you, I was still in that streaming service that is no longer around, right?
Actually, it was so funny because we just decided, we've spent like the last 6 years kind of full on in the business with so my company's called Wild Snapper TV, and it was just tiring. So we went, let's just take a few months off and slow it down. And so that was supposed to happen in the first few months of the year.
Right.
And I think then that's, so I remember being, I guess it's an extended extended break.
Yeah.
I was at home. I kind of heard rumors about a possible MCO. So I went and did what everybody did. I went and bought stuff.
Yeah.
And
Toilet paper.
Toilet paper, not so much. I did, however, the silly things I did. I bought some canned foods that I would never eat.
Yeah.
But that just like my mom freaked me out, took me into this like war zone, right?
Yeah.
Just canned food.
Yeah.
Because I think she felt like it was going to be apocalyptic and we were going to be in this for like years.
Yeah.
So I was like, canned food, okay, it expires 2022.
Right.
I guess I'll be safe for 2 years,
Right.
like.
Cannellini beans and tuna. Oh, banyak, yeah.
It was. It's
Right.
like, now we're going through, I'm like, how much mackerel can one eat?
Right, yeah,
Like, how much sardines can one eat? So, I remember being at home and saying, should I, shouldn't I? And I'm so glad I did because the next day, when it was quite confirmed that it was going to be the MCO, you remember the malls, the lines,
Yeah, and for a while, I got into a very weird place because I was working from home.
Yeah.
Because I had just gotten back into radio.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, back in the world in Malaysia, this is like a full-time job and stuff and whatever, right? After that, I was told to stay home and work from home. And
Yeah.
I freaking loved it.
Really?
I was like a hermit. I was working from
Yeah.
home. I was still getting stuff out there. I was still
Yeah.
doing radio and still doing all the research and everything. But thing is about living in the Klang Valley, right? In Malaysia, specifically the Klang Valley. We're so used to having things, especially water, because we have water cuts all the time.
Yeah.
So I always have like extra water and everything. So I had everything I needed.
So you didn't go out?
Why do I need to go out? And
Yeah.
then at a point where they started going, hey, you need to start coming back to the office, I was like, I don't know how I feel about that.
Yes.
Did you feel that?
Yeah, I did feel that. I remember going to buy groceries and I was just like, oh my God.
Yeah.
You know, and you would really just go there and it was so gradual. And I wrote some stuff down because, you know, it started with that panic buying and then nobody was allowed out. And then going to the mall for the first time and seeing them with the, you know, with the
temperature guns.
the temperature guns. And I was like, oh, okay, that's new. But, you know, they'd still have the pen that you'd have to write on. And with no sanitizer.
I know,
and then,
filled with other people's bacteria. Right?
and then the sanitizers came in and then the law about, you know, only one person allowed out. So I remember it was quite gradual. And I thought that the way that was done was actually really good. And the way the government did that 2 weeks thing, you know, obviously that was a strategy. That was, you know, that they thought of way ahead. They were quite confirmed that they were going to lock us in for 2 months. But they knew that if they said, hey, lockdown 2 months, everybody was going to get really upset and nobody would cope. So it's saying 2 weeks and everybody got used to it a little bit more, and then announcing another 2 weeks, I think helped with the psyche.
Yeah, how do you think Malaysia did? I mean, overall, personally, say what you will, but I see how things are. Because my brother is Australian now, right? He lives there. When we had some of those, what's it called? I think EMs were enhanced MCO. Like some places were behind barbed wires and everything, right?
Yeah.
Then he said, "Oh my God, that's a bit heavy."
Yeah.
And then when Victoria, because he's in Melbourne, right? Then they started trying to keep people in there. Like, oh, now I see why you guys did it.
Yeah.
I thought that the authorities here did a great job.
Oh yeah.
But in your opinion, you think the 2 week kind of worked out well?
I thought they did a good job. I mean, you know, it was so funny. We were at that time going through a political, you know, change. Like that was the focus of Malaysia in the beginning. You know, in March, in February, COVID was like, it's happening. It's somewhere there.
Yeah.
But what we're facing is, you know, a change.
More immediate,
Yeah. So in the government, so that was what all the news was talking about, right? So to then have a new government and have this, for them to deal with.
Not bad, right?
Not bad. And a lot of us were, you know, I of course I'm not going to say I'm for any side, but that was their biggest test, right? And all of us were worried. How would they cope? How would you cope with trying to deal with all of this? And we had such a rock star minister in health back then, the old government as well. So we were like, oh, what if he goes? Who's going to be, you know, leading this fight? You know, and then of course DG,
our new rock star.
But
you know, for the most part, even with all the political turmoil, I think at one point even the other side, at that particular point, they became the other side, right? They said, no, just follow what they're saying, just stay put, and we did.
Yeah.
Malaysians. I'm always like, Malaysians, I cannot follow rules on what's going on, and then we did.
Yeah.
And I was impressed.
Yeah. I know, you know, in the beginning, there were people who didn't. There were like, it's one thing I love about social media, and that time I think I save everybody's memes and videos just to remember this time. And there was a lot of videos going around. I think there was police videos from police cars. Going, masuk rumah, you know, and you see.
Hey, buat apa keluar? There was this female cop, I love her. You know? But she was yelling at people, love her,
So there was a lot of those videos at that time. So in the first few weeks, people were a bit lax. People were a bit like, well, I'm young, I'm healthy, it's not going to happen to me. So, you know, not totally understanding being asymptomatic and carrying the virus to someone older and someone who would be, you know, in not a good place if they got the virus. So the first few weeks, and then I think the law enforcement that seemed harsh was necessary.
Yeah.
Because we needed to to flatten the curve, and we needed to do it quickly.
Yeah.
And the only way to do that was to really just, go all out. So, the amount of, if you think about the back end of the amount of work the government had to go through in order to make that happen, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Like, we saw the amount of like PSAs that came out,
Yeah.
posters, everything that came out to inform the public of what next and what's this, and and so many things. If you think about it, the dana that came out, that in order to help facilitate that on the medical side with the frontliners and what to do and the rules, and then of course they made mistakes along the way, but I think in that short period of time,
but everybody was making mistakes. Every government in the world was making mistakes.
Correct.
Right?
And and I loved, of course, the KKM was so stoic.
Yeah.
They led with no BS.
Yeah.
It was like, this is the truth and this is this.
Yeah.
And that was it. There was no flowering it like, okay, if we do this, it's going to be pretty. No, it's dire.
Yeah.
Stay in, or we will be Italy.
Correct.
I remember he
that
said
point,
that
right?
at one point. Yeah. So it was good, like that kind of like no BS stuff is really helpful for people to just go, okay, I get it.
Yeah. But at any time though, did you go, how bad can this be?
Yeah. Yeah,
Right?
I did.
Because before I was paranoid about not wanting to go out because the numbers weren't crazy high, and all you think were like, people, like the news said people were eating bats in China, and then it's there, right?
Yep.
That's what the news was about.
Yep.
It's not gonna come here, and then we had 1 or 2 cases here. I'm like, it's not gonna get to me.
Yeah.
Did you think that at any point?
It was so funny, right? Because now it's a bit muddled from what I know from the documentary and what I knew before the documentary. So, I don't know whether I felt that way, that, it was very far away and it wouldn't come to us. It was funny, right? Because like pandemic, I think a lot of people had to Google a lot of stuff.
I know, yeah.
What is it?
Flatten the curve?
Yeah,
what curve is this?
It's like, what? I think I first heard it when Jacinda Ardern said, we've got to flatten the curve.
Yeah.
I was like, what's that even mean?
Yeah.
And then, when our PM said MCO or PKP, I'm like, what is that? Like, can they even do that?
Yeah.
Like, what act is that even allowed on?
We've never even gone through this before, right?
We've never gone through that. So, a lot of things, and then announcing it as a pandemic. It's like, okay, what's the difference between pandemic? Like all the stuff. It's just a lot of jargon that we all had to learn very quickly.
Yeah.
So yes, at one point I did think like, okay, because the first cases were in Sarawak.
Yeah.
Far away. And then, then there was, for Malaysians, before there was Chinese nationals that came through Singapore.
Yeah.
Again, they found them and, they're isolated.
Yeah.
I think when it started to be a little bit more, now our government took effect really fast. The MCO was announced, March 18.
Yes.
And
that's one of the dates that we'll always remember, right? Yeah.
Probably need like t-shirts.
Yeah, right.
Like
do you remember March 18th? Right?
March 18. And WHO announced that it was a pandemic on March 11.
Yeah.
So, we didn't really take that much longer from
and they were really holding off from actually
Yes.
calling it a pandemic at that point, right?
Yes, yeah.
Because it needs to be a global thing. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's so many things that have to go into it being called a pandemic, because once you do that, then it's official that, so the so I thought we reacted very quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My thing is though, I know, because I'm in media. I get fed all this information as well, and I know all this stuff. I know a lot more than other people.
Yep.
Which kind of freaks me out sometimes. I'm like, I'm not allowed to say this, but there's whispers that the MCO might be extended and stuff like this. So I'm like, but I'm not allowed to say anything because I'm like, I don't know, I might cause panic or whatever it is, right? So I'm not allowed to say stuff. But now, you see like all these documentaries coming out around the world about what happened in this part of the world, that part of the world, and I'm like, wow, it was a lot worse in the US. Like they had no control in many cases.
They still don't.
Right?
Yeah, they still don't have control.
It's out of, and you need a good leader in many ways, right? And here I think it was led by the health ministry. That they were like, this is what we're gonna do.
Yeah, they were the ones that make recommendations to the government.
Yeah.
So, they kind of like, they see the trends, they see what's happening, then they kind of have to talk to, so they work together with the government and they make the recommendation to go, it is in the best interest of the people if this was to happen.
Yeah.
And of course the government then takes that into consideration to go, yes, but what are the economy? But to our government's benefit, they went health first.
Yeah.
So they, like we were quite united lah, I have to say.
I was quite proud. I was quite like, hey, no better. Malaysia versus COVID-19. Hashtag Kita Jaga Kita, the documentary.
Yeah.
All those stories. There's a lot from the past. There's a lot of now. Because I saw all the promos, right? So I'm like, when did you get involved? Like, right from the get-go, where you're like collecting all those memes of all those cops driving around. Like, wow, I need to do a documentary. Was that how it started, or?
To be honest, no. It started with Lina Tan from Redcom.
Yeah.
And Astro said, do you have any projects you want to propose? And she thought maybe a documentary. And then she texted me and said, what are you up to? And I said, nothing, just, running around after 3 girls at the moment. She says, what do you think about doing a documentary? And I said, that's definitely something right up my alley. I love talking to people. I love digging up stories. So that's, I said, yes. And then she said, what do you think, would go in this? What would be... So we kind of thought about it together. She heard the DG mention Musuh Senyap, so the silent enemy. She thought, that's exactly what it is, right? It's like wartime. For our parents, that was, what they went through. This is our war.
Right.
And then I thought about the people involved in the different stories that came out. That you saw all sorts of amazing stories in Malaysia, and I thought, how good would it be to kind of explore what does it mean, this Malaysia Boleh, this Malaysia spirit, all these things that we hear, it's super cliche, but like in times of crisis, when we saw around the world how people were reacting to this, to the virus, and how they were reacting to policies. So what does it mean for us? What does that mean to be a Malaysian fighting a war? A silent enemy. So that was my premise on going into how to find stories, on what we focus on, and how we tell the story.
When Lina called you, when was this?
She called me maybe in April.
All right. Oh wow. Okay.
So we were we were already in MCO.
Right.
Yeah. And but it was still, the streets were still empty. So in that time we got a shooter out to shoot the empty streets, to fly the drone around, and we have footage that I don't think we'll ever see again.
Right.
And of course, I wish we could just probably do an hour long of all the drone shots of the streets and the playgrounds and the barbed wires, and so Tugu Negara being completely empty. When you never see that. You'd see tourist buses, and so I think if there was an hour-long footage or so, I think people would watch. It's like, wow, KL, that you've never seen like that before.
Correct. Yeah, because there was going around all over the world. You could see on YouTube people just uploading stuff like this. My city.
Yeah.
Stuff like this, right? Yeah.
So that was the first thing that we went and did. Just got a shooter out to kind of shoot anything that was out of the ordinary. While we thought about stories and how and then the other thing was like, when can we go out to shoot? There was a long period where we couldn't go out to shoot. Nobody was allowed. So the second we could, I think the day itself we did our first interview. Yeah.
So the day you did get to go out, when was that?
I can't remember.
Right.
It was what was it, June?
Right.
No. What are
April, May. Roughly, I think it would have been
June or something.
Yeah.
Like
Man,
that,
we've been at this a long time.
Yeah, I really can't remember.
Yeah. What were you planning to do with this? I mean, was it mainly about the cops and the military guys, the doctors and nurses, or everyday people in your mind?
I think in my mind, I was curious about the people that contracted COVID.
Right.
I think we all were.
Yeah.
Like what did they have to go through?
To be honest, I still don't know.
Yeah.
I didn't go for a test.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I was terrified.
Yeah.
I was terrified.
That
After I saw it, I was like, I was terrified.
Right.
To go for the test, but it's like 5 seconds.
Yeah.
And one of the people we interviewed was Ashwa Ismail, and he said they kind of like do it. He's done it like 18 times or something, So it became so normal.
Right.
There's a lot of the frontliners that they're also frontliners like reporters that have to go to do all these stories, and they're also around other people, and the possibility of them contracting COVID was there. So the story was really about trying to find, I think, wanted to understand a bit more about the virus from from people who actually contracted the virus.
Okay.
We did want to interview doctors and nurses, but KKM is very, very cautious about that. You know, it's not like America where people it's freedom of speech, they can just say whatever. Okay. So they wanted to control that a little bit because, you know, any misinformation at this point could be quite dangerous.
Which I think was right, because any information about this comes from him, the health DJ.
Yeah,
right?
And you know, we kind of respected that. We got that. So it's not a documentary about the medical side of things.
Right.
That's not it. So it's a very human side of. So one side is about the victims, and then it was who else was affected by this. Who else rose above and beyond their call of duty, their job description in order to make life easier for somebody else, and who else was doing something that inspired other people. So, you know, I wanted to see, just like how the virus is like one person and spread, I wanted to see how one person could spread a message of hope, you know, and positivity. So,
right. Well, there must have been a lot of stories.
A lot. So many stories.
How was the documentary? An hour, right?
An hour.
Yeah. How do you fit all that into an hour?
I think the first cut was like 4 hours long already, and that one also is like, you know, there's only 4 people, 5 stories that we concentrate on. I guess the magic is in post, right? Everybody knows.
Yeah.
Fix it in post.
But were there some things like, oh, that story was so good, but I had to take it out?
Yeah. But I guess that's why you have a lot of people involved in post at the end. Because, you know, for me, I was very close to it. And I was very close to the people I interviewed. Every single person I interviewed, you know, I sit down and talk to them for an hour and a half. But what you hear from them might be 5 minutes long, 10 minutes long at best. Yeah. So there's so much I want to tell. But I think at the end of the day, it's really just trying to get the understanding from everybody of what happened and what they did to overcome something. And I'm not saying COVID is over, far from it, right? But it was just overcoming that very, very bizarre period in our lives, the MCO. Yeah. It was very strange.
Now we're kind of living with it, I suppose. Like masks we're so used to words like SOP and stuff like this, right? But
we were talking about how like we Malaysians like accessorize.
I know, right? Yeah.
Like
it's just like I freak out when I go out and people aren't wearing masks in a way, right? But for you, because you were so close to them, were there any particular stories that just got you? Like, wow, like I didn't know how bad it was. Kind of
I think this is a story of Puan Aiza. I call her Puan Aiza. She was married to a cop, a police officer from Kuala Lumpur, and you know that's just listening to her talk about her husband and what he said to her, you know, in the days following up to him going to the hospital. It's just so devastating. Like even talking about it now, I think it's like a bit, I recall just her, and you just think what we saw daily, and you know, Ashwat says this in the documentary, it became a habit that we just went, how many cases today? How many people died?
This becomes figures, right?
Yeah, it just was numbers, but really, these people were real people with families, and then, you know, for her husband passed away. So
how old?
Very young. They're in their 30s. Right. So her husband passed away. She was living in Pulapol, and of course because he's no longer around, she had to move out.
Is that how it works?
Yeah. So she had to move out of the police.
So she packed up her family, the kids, everybody.
She doesn't have kids, but you know she's lived there for 10 years, and her family's in Johor. So it's so difficult, and for her as well. When he died in the hospital, nobody's allowed to see, you know, him when he was in the ICU. Nothing like that.
Yeah, because of the restrictions.
The restrictions, and you know, everybody was so like, who's going to get contracted? The nurses and doctors talk about them being fearful also of caring for these patients. Yeah. So she didn't see where he was buried. You know, 6 weeks later was when she saw it for the first time, to the burial site. And so just things like that. That story, every time she talks about it and every time you hear it, your heart breaks.
Wow.
and of course she contracted COVID as well.
Oh no.
So it's like it was one after another for her. Getting.
So she got it from him.
She got it from him.
And he was a frontliner. He was manning the roadblocks and everything.
Yeah, no, he was working at the palace at the Istana during the change of government.
Oh, okay, right.
When our PM was sworn in.
Right.
And then he went for a holiday in Bandung. So it's very, it's also hard to pinpoint exactly where he got.
At that point, no contact tracing or whatever.
Yeah,
right?
but from the time he got it, they thought like he was just having normal cough and normal fever. That's what everybody says in the beginning. Another patient that's in the documentary as well. He's patient 18 in Malaysia, and he also just had a cough, but he felt uneasy, went to the hospital, and then only on the third visit they went, maybe you might have COVID. But before that, they were like antibiotics, because it was so new, nobody knew. So when he did the test, and he said he did test, waited like two days, I think, and he thought, okay, I'm gonna get discharged today. Doctor comes in and says, you've got COVID, the ambulance is outside, they're gonna take you to Sungei Buloh.
Because that's how we do it here, because immediately you're taken
you're shipped off, no packing bags, nothing, and you can't see your family.
Yeah.
So there's, so it's very scary if you think about it.
Yeah.
You think like, oh no, I thought I was gonna go home, but next thing I know, I'm in an ambulance headed to the center of where
people in
COVID
hazmat suits everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. And if
Yeah.
you've seen those PPEs that they wear, it's like stuff in the movies.
Yeah.
Totally like Contagion, like
Yeah.
it's like stuff from the movies. So just hearing it from that point of view, and then there are different levels of patients, the asymptomatic ones, and then the ones that go into ICU, and the ICU is when it's like dire.
Yeah.
They say when you hit ICU, it's 50-50.
Right.
So either you make it or you don't. And that's where they, sometimes if you get really bad, that's where they have to intubate you.
Yeah, and then they stick the tube.
Yeah. And to intubate you, they have to put you into a coma. So it's a forced induced coma. So it's like real stories. Malaysians had to go through it. And then you hear from the doctors who just don't sleep, don't eat, don't see their families.
And at that point, they didn't even have enough PPEs.
They didn't have enough
They were using
PPEs.
like plastic bags and stuff like this, right? Yeah.
KKM said, that wasn't, maybe that was too, I'm not sure where that was, but but there's not enough PPE, like worldwide shortage. So that's the other story, right? When Melinda Lewis steps in and someone tags her and says, hey, there's a plastic bag, and they're using plastic bag.
We had a chat with Mel actually, and then she was like, then I got all my designer friends to do it, and I'm like, how do you know how to do all this? Have to figure it out. There was a word that everybody is using. Everyone is just figuring it out.
Yeah.
Because you didn't know.
But we were so quick, Malaysians. I felt we were just like, and then for those who didn't have any skill or whatever, didn't know how to help, we were hungry to help. I felt. I was at one point. I was like, what can I do? What can I do to help? But I started filming with my phone. I have so a lot of not a lot, sorry. There's bits in the documentary which is just footage from my phone.
Oh, serious?
Yeah. So because I knew that I was there at this point, and there's no recreating a lot of this stuff.
Yeah, I need to get the footage now.
So a lot of times I was out and I saw something, or and it was simple things, like a man, he was sanitizing. This image I think will stay with me for a long time. He was sanitizing a escalator belt. All right. And he just sprayed and put his thing there, and just, and no one was around. Right? It's just like, and at any other time, if someone was doing that, you wouldn't think about it.
It's just cleaner.
Yeah, and then it just felt lonely, and it felt real.
Slightly ominous as well, right?
Yeah. So just like this is here to stay for a long time. So there's a lot of stuff that I was experiencing, and I went, this must be what everybody's experiencing too.
Having done this documentary,
yeah,
you've learned a lot, you've seen a lot, you've spoken to a lot of people. It must have changed you, man. I mean, how has it changed you?
I think you learn something really important, and that life is life is short, and it's ever changing. Yeah. All the time, and you never know what you're going to be faced with, right? But I watched this woman who lost her husband tell the story and then pick herself up to move on, and want to then help other women that have, you know, lost husbands or, you know, and I thought, honestly, sometimes we are a bit self-indulgent.
Yeah.
And we are really worried about too much self. And it's quite unimportant things, actually. So I think that brought it back to me about, you know, the important things in life and knowing how life is very, very short. And just, it was her resilience, I thought, that really shook something in me lah. And I saw that with every single person, and every single story was resilience. You know, it wasn't like they weren't doing. Sometimes people think purpose is a big thing.
Yeah.
Like I have to go and save 1 million people and feed like 1,000, you know, hungry children. But you know, I think purpose is very, very simple, and it's never about you.
Yeah.
And it's very small. It's not like I want to do this. It's more like I want to just do this, and I think that changed me in realizing that. And I also always never thought that what I did was purpose driven.
It's just what you do.
It's just what I do. But to be honest, purpose driven for in helping people, right, is doing the best of what you already are good at.
Yeah.
And do it really well in order for it to affect other people and help other people. So I think that changed me in that sense, where I went, this woman wasn't really worried about, you know, helping the world. She was just going to see who was the next person she could help.
Yeah.
And she wasn't like, oh my God, you know, my life is over, my husband's dead, and
But she had every reason to feel that way, right?
Every reason. And I'm not saying that the people that do feel that way, I'm not saying that that's bad.
Yeah.
I'm just saying what I learned from that was, you know, in every situation, life is like that. And COVID or not, there's always going to be something.
Yeah.
And how we kind of take that into a positive is always how we move forward. And move forward positively as Malaysians, and also as the world.
As a world, I think we've learned a lot, I suppose. I learned to appreciate whatever I had, because then I was like, wow, some people have it much worse. And when it hit India, they couldn't have social distancing.
Yeah,
Because they're so...
I mean, here also, you know, you think about it, like the certain clusters that were happening, right?
Yeah.
Social distancing...
In the Masjid India area as well,
Social distancing is a mark of privilege.
Yeah.
To be able to socially distance means you have space to distance.
Right.
That's privilege.
Yeah.
And that was the other thing that changed me, was like, you know, I think all of us in this room knows that we're privileged. Yeah. We're definitely more privileged than anybody that...
To some extent, we're also a bit spoiled.
Yeah.
Right.
So privileged, and what I hope, right, that will carry through after the MCO is that you know you're privileged, and you know there's people who are not privileged. Yeah. They don't just need help during the MCO. Yeah. They need help continuously. Because it's the people that were in trouble during the MCO. They're not like okay now that the MCO is they're still in trouble. So that was the other thing, that like realizing that you are privileged. If you're not able to actually do things and not everybody has to go down turun padang, that kind of thing. Yeah. This is something one of the persons I interviewed on the documentary, Hannah Alkaf, who started the kita.com. Yeah. And she was saying, you know, if you know you're privileged, follow people who are doing things. At least take the responsibility of following. You know, of course you have the influencers that you follow for fun, because, you know, they go nice places and they do nice things.
Not anymore. Okay. Yeah.
His kincha not very nice. But it's not like, also follow people who are doing things so that you are aware of what's happening. And then if it moves you, you go, cool, I could help. Yeah. You know, then that's how we continuously get out of things. Yeah. Get out of things that need help. If you're not able to, it's okay. But there are people who are doing it. At least support that. Yeah. Yeah. That's
always something bigger than you. That
Correct.
You must. I think at this point, everybody wants to find something, a purpose. Yeah. Right? They want to find a purpose. And I think the whole world is kind of trying to find a way to like entertainment industry. They're trying to find a way to like get cinemas opening again and clubs, this, that, everything. Food is struggling.
Yeah.
Right? Restaurants are struggling.
A lot of restaurants shut down. You know, I have friends who have.
I still don't feel comfortable eating out.
Yeah, I'm okay actually. I'm okay. I'm okay eating out, and I'm okay. Yeah, but I think when there is a lot of people, then I'm like, I'm not okay with this.
Yeah.
But I think I feel like you know, even this is okay. I think you kind of suss out.
Sorry.
This is the level.
It's around. Yeah, correct. Right, actually, yeah.
I mean, if you or I have COVID, then this is not okay.
Yeah.
They say it's 6 feet is the distance. But
Yeah. I find that they're learning a lot more. Like sometimes 6 feet. Oh no, it's
or
not.
Maybe not.
No, you need
yeah.
it to be further.
Correct.
They're learning so much.
Exactly.
Right.
And you feel like they've done such a good job, and everybody in KKM, you know, especially the special task force under the DG, that they must be just so tired. You know, every day. I don't think they've had a holiday.
Yeah.
And that's really where I hope that Malaysians understand that the MCO was really to give everybody a break, to kind of get on top of things. And if we don't keep practicing
reset, right?
Then it's kind of like we're really no better than the countries that we're here that have stubborn citizens.
There's this small spattering 5% who still go, alah, nothing lah. Okay, I bring my kids out, everything. They're bored at home.
Yeah.
What can I do? What do you say to these people?
So if you're doing it because you're bored and you still like, you know, you bring your kids out just for the sake of it because you think, oh, it's all over.
Yeah.
And when you actually have a choice not to, then that's really, really silly.
Yeah.
But if you're, you know, then there are also people who just, you know, they need a bit of escape. It is a choice between chancing it and living the way they have been and are. Right? So I think if you can, do what's right. Help out in what we're trying to do here, which is trying to combat something that nobody has faced on this planet.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, like, why would you want to put anybody in danger?
Correct.
You know, now they say, because at one point they're like, oh, it's not affecting kids. Now, you know, it is affecting kids.
Hey, dude, at one point I didn't want to go visit my mom and dad.
Yeah, me too.
Right? Because it was 10 kilometers. Was it 10 kilometers or the radius?
Yeah.
Something? And then they were within 10 kilometers. And I'm like, then I didn't know how to tell them.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't think I should come and visit you guys. Then my mom was like, no, don't come here.
Yeah. Actually,
stay away.
My mom was the same. My mom was like, y'all don't need to come, thanks.
I know, right?
I thought she'd be like, come over,
I know,
you know?
right? Yeah.
No, she's
Let me
like,
cook
no,
for
it's
you.
okay, thanks.
My mom was like, no.
Yeah. Just stay away.
Yeah, I made masks, so I'll send it to you.
I know, my mom made masks too.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that was the other thing. Everybody started making masks.
Yeah.
And that's a skill.
It's great because I've got all these different designs. And people are like, so I don't know whether you know Teguh Zatasha as a
Yes,
you know?
yeah.
So she's making all these masks and everything. And she got this girl to do it all for people that she's sponsoring. And then she saw my mask. Hey, where do you get your mask from? I was like, my mom. And then we're talking. We would never talk masks a few years ago.
Yeah.
This is not a thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But another thing that just got me wondering about the documentary.
Yeah.
Did you get to speak to anybody who was not in Malaysia during COVID?
Yeah.
Who was like, fuck, I'm stuck here.
Yeah. I think that was, for me, that was the scary thing because, you know, we all have family abroad. I'm being Malaysians who travel a lot, like you mentioned, Malaysians travel a lot. We have family abroad, we have friends abroad. So I was worried, I was concerned about how people were trying to get back.
Yeah.
You know, and we're very, very quick to blame a lot of people, like, why they go travel?
But then, at a time like this, you didn't know this time was coming, right?
Even the tablik thing, because everybody was like, oh, really upset with the tablik situation. But I'm like, where were you February 18? I'm sure you were out. This documentary, this boy who, it's his first trip overseas.
Oh, poor kid.
First trip, you know, travel around Malaysia and thought like save money and, you know, finally get to go somewhere. And, didn't want to worry his parents. So said, no, I'm going with friends. But went alone. And then COVID, you know, in New Zealand especially, you know, they have 4 lockdowns, like 4 phases.
Yeah.
And then
it was strict.
Yeah, super strict. So when they went into, what was it? Lockdown 3. Or was it? So lockdown 3. Right. It was lockdown 4 is when they shut down the country.
Everything, yeah.
But then it was 48 hours. They announced lockdown 3, and then we're going to go in lockdown 4 in 48 hours. So
Yeah.
by then, like, all the borders started shutting, all airports started closing, and he was like, what? What's happening? I guess I got to get out.
Yeah.
But he was in a hostel that didn't have cooking facilities.
Okay.
So it's like, I guess I just got to get all these like packed food, right? And then you start hearing about hotels kicking people out.
Yeah.
So a lot of Malaysians at that point they were stranded. And bless Malaysians wherever you are. Somehow you always go, hey, actually must go help. Another Malaysian, yes, but you also think like generally, but I think you do focus on helping another Malaysian. And that's what the Malaysian community who live there said, let's put a campaign out. And they just put it out on their Facebook page, which has like 300 followers or something like that. And they said, let's just put it out and then see who might need some help. And
I think thinking 1 or 2 lah.
And the WhatsApp, like I think you saw in the trailer, she says the
Yeah.
WhatsApp just went ding, 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 ding. And it was all people going, how do I get out? My flights were cancelled. And flights were being cancelled left, right and centre.
Yeah.
So all flights were, and airlines weren't flying unless they were full capacity. So because of that, if your plane wasn't full, you got cancelled. So you pay for a ticket and then you go, oh, it's cancelled. And then because the airlines were in trouble, we aren't reissuing a refund. We'll give you vouchers.
Yeah.
So you're like, thanks, but I can't fly with you. Now I have to fly with this person. And that means I've got to fork out more money to fly with this person.
And I don't have the cash.
And I don't have that money. So that was the issue. And where do people stay? So this boy John, he called up and he's like, food, like where to stay.
Yeah.
And then they were like, let's help. And a wonderful woman by the name of Esther went, I have a house. And if you watch in the documentary, she is the star of the documentary.
Right.
She's just that auntie that everybody loves. She says, I goreng all the tanghun and everything.
Right.
I made food for him and hot meal and like it's dinner time and all that sort of stuff. I think until July or August, there was still 10,000 Malaysians stranded abroad.
Jeez.
So it affected so many people in so many different ways. And
Yeah.
you were just going on holiday. 3 days in, you're like, cool. And then like the 4th day, you're like, sorry, what?
Oh,
In,
shit,
what,
right,
48
yeah.
hours?
Yeah.
Okay, I guess I
Yeah.
gotta pack my bags. I gotta call the airline. I gotta try to book a flight.
Yeah.
And then the airline goes, well, we're not flying anyway. You go, like, what just happened?
Yeah.
And here's the other thing. You go overseas, you're like, I got a budget to spend on my holiday,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And then you go, you're gonna be here indefinitely and you got
Yeah.
nowhere to stay. What do you do?
Yeah.
And
And you can't work.
it's crazy.
Yeah,
I'm sure our government, Wisma Putra and all that, had a real good time with
Yeah.
trying to figure out all the embassies and trying to get everybody back.
Yeah.
Because you can't, and it's also according to the policy of that country.
Yeah.
If that country's going to allow you out at a certain, so it was just, it's a big mess. It's
Yeah.
a global mess.
Yeah.
So like now to get out of the country, it's like, and that's unheard of. For
Yeah.
me, it's like, feels a little bit like, ooh, if there was anything I felt uncomfortable with during the MCO, it's that. Knowing that someone is restricting my
Yeah.
movement,
Yeah.
know. But it's for the greater good, and we all know that. And I think 95% of us know that. It's just we can't relax. We really, really cannot relax.
This year has taught me that everything that I've planned for, in 20 years I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
I should be on the beaches in the Bahamas and retired and whatever the fuck it is, right? But the thing is now, at no point in time would they have ever imagined during WUWT in 2020, this would happen, this would happen, this would happen. Nothing has come.
But if you think about it, what was Wawasan 2020 supposed to be like? We're supposed to look at Malaysia differently, right?
Were we supposed to have flying cars though?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like flying cars and all that. I mean,
Yeah.
that was definitely my drawing.
Yeah, right, yeah.
That was it. But I thought, like, in an interesting way, if you look at Wawasan 2020 or, the 2020, what is it that a friend of mine, Shani Lee, said, how, people always say, like, where do you want to be in 5 years? Right? But it's like, then she said, I think about it as, how do I want to feel in 5 years? So, and I always go, maybe as a vision of a country, right? How do you want us to feel, like the nation, the people? So in that sense, it's really looking after just the well-being, right? Health-wise, climate, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So it's really about that. So I felt like that was it was an opportunity to look at
Yeah.
Malaysia, and our rivers were so clean. I mean, there were photos of like
Yeah, yeah.
things swimming in the Malacca River, and like it was just
Was
things.
that real?
I don't know whether it was.
See, the pessimist in me went, that's not real, okay? And then, but people said, oh, I don't know, because people aren't out.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, I
You
mean,
know?
wasn't there like some footage of some animals roaming the streets as well?
Yeah,
in
yeah,
KL?
yeah.
So, I just feel like that. Yes, it was I mean, it's affected a lot of people. It's affected a lot of people, and in a very bad way. But for people who weren't really affected heavily, you should look at it as a year to reflect.
Correction year. Is it?
Nah, it's a year to just go, what was the good things about MCO? We all slowed down, then we all started caring about each other, seeing who is more in trouble than me. For once, it wasn't about you lah.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, hey, who's the fella is more in trouble than me, right? I better donate, I better do that. Do we do that now?
Yeah.
With that much heart that we did then?
Yeah.
Then we saw also like, wow, a lot of things got improved to the traffic condition. In India, they were saying they could finally see the gate, right, in Delhi, and
correct,
all that sort of
yeah.
stuff, like the
And then
air pollution index was down.
China, you can actually see, what hills and whatnot.
Yeah, and we relied a lot on our own foods, food chain,
Yeah.
our own food supply.
Yeah.
But I also saw this year, like, actually I did a lot of things that, and had a lot of time with my children that I don't usually have.
Yeah. Did they drive up the Walder at
Oh
some
my
point?
God, it's like, the first 2 weeks you're like, honeymoon, kind of like cool, and then the next 2 weeks is just like, oh my God, how long is this going to last? And let me try to be really productive and, write the scripts I never wanted to write. Now my children, every second is like, she's home. She's never around much, So then after that, it was like, what am I doing? I'm trying to take a situation that I'm used to every day and fit it into this mold, which is the MCO.
Yeah.
And instead of going with the flow of what's happening, right?
Yeah.
So I stopped all that, and then we just played every day, and it was cool. It was a time, I think for them, they will remember it as a time of us being around each other for 2 months.
Do
It
they
was like
know?
the best holiday of their
Do
life.
they know what's going on?
Oh, they're so clued in.
Yeah.
But that's also for me, that was the sad thing. Like, I used to grow up playing with anything, touch anything. Whenever
yeah.
The word, mom was like, a little bit of dirt won't hurt you.
Exactly.
But now it's like,
Now every little piece of dirt could kill you.
could kill you. Yeah,
Yeah, right.
So and they're so used to now every time it's like by default, right, sanitize. So it's in a way that's also sad in the non-carefree life. So that's why I mean an opportunity to then relook at simplifying stuff. So we just took them camping recently off the grid, 3 nights. No internet, no toilets, nothing.
Right.
And no masks, right? So the kids were great, and that's when they came back and they said, Mom, what I miss about the jungle is that there's no mask.
Right. Wow.
Yeah. So and that's the sad part that they live in, but also an opportunity. You were talking about education earlier.
Yeah.
And like in the future.
Yeah. Are you planning for all that? Like how do you plan for them? Like, so you're going to this college, whatever.
But I'm not that kind of parent.
Oh really?
I'm not that parent.
Not
Unfortunately.
about straight A's and stuff.
Never about straight A's. Unfortunately or fortunately for them, I believe, and especially after the MCO, because one of the stories is about a teacher. Education, I don't believe, is just one thing. I don't believe anymore that you go to school, you learn stuff in the books, you go to college, you get a job. It's just like, I think curiosity is your biggest educator.
Yeah.
I think if kids can, calculate curiosity in their lives, then they'll go far. Because then anything that they're curious about, they'll go into and learn a bit more and do it and develop it. And I think that's what you need, from like education and like going out to the jungle and being with the kids like for those 3 days, and then from day 1 to like, oh my God, cannot touch anything. Oh, there's an insect. By like day 4, a grasshopper landed on my daughter's big hands, and she was like, caught it and said, Mom, look, a grasshopper.
Right.
Like, didn't even flinch.
Right.
So I think education is knowing that there is, like nature and jungle, and in order to save it, is to love it, is to be with it, and to know that, hey, there's a little creature here that lives here. And I know it sounds silly and very idealistic, but I'm not that parent who thinks about the future, because I only believe that you have now. You can think about, okay, maybe I would like to do that, but you do that by, as this documentary shows, doing little things. It's the little things that, you know, you do that becomes that big grand thing, and you do it daily, on a daily basis, little by little.
What this pandemic, what COVID has, in a way, taught us is that don't try to control things that you really can't control.
There's no such thing.
Right? Because really, you can't really control your life.
No, I mean, you can take precautions. I'm not saying go outside, oh, you can't control my life, okay, I'll just go out and cough in everybody's face. No, that's not, that's not, you know, how it is. But control means that you're trying to fit something in something that you have no control over. So I think then that's when you know, the stuff about feeling a little bit down and depressed and stuff, that comes about, I believe.
There are a lot of stories in Malaysia versus COVID-19.
Yeah.
Is this part
so
one?
Much. You know what? That's what we said to Astro. I said, I think this should have been a like 6-parter or at least a 2-parter.
So the sequel to this, I don't think that's a sequel, but the next one, Malaysia versus COVID-19, would it be about the health DG, the frontliners, or would it still be more on...
I don't know. What would you like to watch?
I would like to know about him, the health DG. I'd like to know how tough it was, actually.
You know, I think we look at Malaysians, right? We're like, okay lah, we love each other, it's all good. And then we're like, oh yeah, they did a good job.
Yeah.
But the second people do a bad job, you're like, my God, you know. So, you know, I think it would be really nice to show how cool these people are.
And how much work it took, right?
It's like, these guys are rock stars.
Yeah.
You know, like, and to actually come out of, you know, watching it going, these people are damn cool.
Right.
Like, see Malaysia, like, we're so good.
Dude, WHO awarded him, or Malaysia anyway, for doing such a great job in containing this virus. So it was Malaysia and Singapore and whatnot. And sometimes I think we praised like people in the West and the foreigners a bit too much.
Correct. We don't see that we actually, because everyone's like, kind of like, oh yeah, Malaysia did alright. Oh, you know, like one thing we do wrong, right? Be like, oh yeah, Malaysia didn't do that. Oh, it's like, sorry lah, but we did a very good job on this. Yeah. And I'm not saying, you know, if you know me, I'm not one to like praise for people for like the sake of like nothing. Right? Yeah. These are like...
They deserve it, right?
They deserve it. And give credit where credit is due lah.
How long do you think this is going to last though?
Oh my God. We asked the DG this, I think. Then he didn't answer really. But he said, you know, it's like the how we combat things is with the strength of the nation. So it's like whether we patuh the SOP lah, as he says. Do we follow the SOPs? Do we look at this as, you know, and something that we do it together, and that we make sure that we follow everything that the guidelines that the government gives us? Yes. Yeah. How long? I don't know. That's
you didn't give a timeline? 2 years, 3 years, we'll be fine by then.
No. I think the earliest everybody said was 2022. Right?
Seriously. Oh yeah. I keep hearing 2022, and I think it was just recently that I just saw this you know, every year there's a color scheme or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Right. So I think I just showed you. Right. So WUWT came up with this one and said that 2021 is gonna be brave ground.
Brave ground.
Brave. It's got brave ground. I think that should be the color for this year. So it's very earthy tones and everything. That should be 2020. I think we were damn brave, right?
Yeah, I think so.
A damn good job.
I think Malaysians did a good job.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. It's like, they couldn't do what they did if we didn't stay in the house and follow the SOPs.
So if you want to check out Malaysia versus COVID-19, hashtag Kita Jaga Kita, it was out on everything. It was out on Astro, AEC, Vinmin, Hello. Did I miss anything? Awani is on Go. It's still on the Astro Go app. You can go check it out. It was great work there.
Thanks. It's teamwork lah. A lot of us. Yeah.
Zab, thanks so much for being here. For you, if you want us to talk about something that you feel very passionately about and we can actually get the experts for, do get in touch with us. Subscribe, like, comment. Once again, this is What's Up With That. I'm Jason Desmond. Thanks for watching. And remember, don't be a dick!